The death of Iran's president sparked a global conversation about the regime in Tehran. World leaders offered their condolences, but those condolences were swiftly criticized by diaspora groups. Journalist Nahayat Tizhoosh joined us earlier to explain the reaction to the president's death.
Well, I would like to say I was surprised, but I was not surprised, to be frank. This is really part and parcel of the West's reaction in general to the regime on any nefarious behavior the regime has been committing, or even in particular with this instance of the death of two senior officials with the regime. I think it really speaks to the fact that the West has just chosen this path of, let's say, appeasing and dealing with the devil they know, not wanting to infuriate Iran further, particularly now with everything that is going on in the region, with tensions really being at a peak. So it's kind of just sustaining the status quo and not irritating Iran. And by Iran, we mean the supreme leader, because, the president and the foreign minister, as much as they have these titles, they are not the ultimate decision makers, which is why their deaths, really realistically speaking, in the short term, will have no impact on Iran. In the long term, certainly Raisi's death will, but in terms of the reaction, I was not really surprised. Iranians in the various diasporas, of course, were outraged that someone like Raisi, who's nicknamed the Butcher of Tehran, could receive such condolences, and some might say rightfully so. But no, I was not surprised. Well, as you know, state media is controlled by the authorities in Iran. So Iranian people really don't have a platform other than social media or civil obedience to make their voices heard. So immediately after, or actually during the search that was ongoing, Iranians were taking to social media and celebrating. Some were even making bets, and, in a way to poke at the clerics. Some women even said, started betting and saying, if he's found dead, we will post nudes of ourselves. So really a thorn in the side of this, clerical regime that's been ruling Iran for the last 4 decades. So people were celebrating. In some cities, sweets were being handed out immediately in the aftermath, and fireworks even went off in the Kurdistan province. So, and all this obviously at a risk. That Iran just recently, nearly 2 years ago now, had a massive uprising, popular protests, and immediately, the security forces stifled those. And so any kind of act of civil disobedience or any kind of act that may deem to be in opposition of the regime can really land Iranians in a lot of trouble. But yet Iranians still try to let their voices be known that they are celebrating the death of this character, of this individual. Well, what happens next? Formally, Khamenei has triggered, on the surface, he's put someone in place in the interim for the president. Same with the foreign minister. They have to basically call elections within the next 50 days. So that will happen relatively soon. Domestically, not much is going to change. In terms of foreign policy in the short term, not much is going to change. The supreme leader really holds all the sway. He is the ultimate decision maker. So the person who will ultimately be chosen as the president, which typically is also seen to be handpicked by the supreme leader, could perhaps be someone in line for succession. The supreme leader is 85 years old, and Raisi really was one of the only 2 names that had been publicly floated as his replacement, the other individual being his son, Mujtaba, who is very unpopular with the Iranian people. So that really gives Khamenei a lot of headaches. He has the nuclear issue, he has the tensions across the region. Now he has to deal with another, engineered election. So he's got quite a lot on his hands now. So it remains to be seen who will be that person elected as next president. And perhaps that person will be the next supreme leader as well.